Hey everyone, Gianni Rubino here, Windows Central, and this is your Microsoft and Windows News Roundup for the week of March 25th, 2022. Let's get to it. All right, first up, let's get to the Windows 11 news of the week. So build 22581 is now rolling out to the dev channel. And what makes this release so interesting is for the first time, it is also rolling out to the beta channel. Up until now, beta and release preview were aligned, but that is now shifting. So beta is now going on into an entirely new branch. That means beta may get more buggy as it gets some new features that are available in that dev channel. However, keep in mind that just because those features are in beta channel does not mean they will necessarily ship with 22H2, which is due later this fall as the big release. Microsoft may change their mind, pull some features, they may be buggy or may not be finished in time, so just keep that in mind if you decide to stay on beta. If you don't want to get that dev channel release at all and you're in beta, you can now switch to release preview and you'll be fine so long as you don't take that update. If you do take that update, simply roll it back, then jump to release preview. But once you go down that route with the beta channel, well, you won't be able to go back to the main branch, so keep that in mind. All right, another week in another minor controversy. Thanks to Microsoft. In the latest versions of Windows 11 in those insider channels, well, there appears to be a new watermark that's appearing. Now, this only happens if it's installed on unsupported older hardware, which, yeah, a lot of people do because it's not hard to install Windows 11 on just about anything if you know how. Well, this watermark appears in that lower right-hand corner, and it kind of rubs people the wrong way, as it also looks like it's an unlicensed version of Windows from afar, when of course your version is technically licensed, it's just unsupported. Now, this is Microsoft's operating system, and they choose how to run things, so I kind of understand where they're coming from, but obviously this bothers a lot of people, especially those running this on older hardware. Of course, folks, we're talking about Windows. So the question is, can you hack and remove it? Yes, you can. Of course you can. So don't get all that mad if it really bothers you. On the other hand, this may be a good opportunity for you to go and save up and maybe buy a new computer. I don't know. All right, speaking of hacking, but real hacking, the group Lapsus, I think that's how you pronounce it. Well, they had quite the week. So if you don't know, they were accused of stealing data from Samsung and NVIDIA, specifically DLSS data from NVIDIA and their source code. But later it came out that they may have hit Microsoft. And then it was confirmed that they did hit Microsoft. And then their data was leaked on the internet, and then they were arrested. So that story escalated quite quickly. But basically 37 gigabytes of Microsoft's data, including 90% of Bing's source code, and get this, 45% of Cortana's source code, which, you know, if it actually contained anything would probably be valuable, but it does not. Now, Microsoft did confirm that no customer data or code was involved in this hack, so it was just proprietary information from Microsoft, and it's probably no big deal in the sense that any company can't just look at this data and then, you know, copy it, because it would be quite obvious. So no one can really do anything with this information. But if you don't know, 7 people between the ages of 16 and 21 have been arrested in the UK in connection with this crime, which is certainly interesting. What were you doing as a teenager? Well, I know I wasn't doing this, but hey, this is 2022. All right, let's do some Surface Duo news. So late last week, Surface Duo 2 picked up its March security update. There were no new features or bug fixes listed in the changelog, but there were quite a few Microsoft Launcher beta updates in this week. I think there's at least 3 or 4, and well, things do seem smoother and, yes, even a bit faster. I should also mention that Surface Duo 1 also picked up its March update on Monday, and with it comes improved device stability. And a lot of people are reporting that things just feel smooth, fast, and responsive now. And that's also going in conjunction with the previous Android 11 update that came back a few months ago. So Microsoft seems to be continuing its trends here with Surface Duo, which we're happy to see. Speaking of Surface Duo 2, it went up against the Galaxy Fold 3 on the UK's The Gadget Show, which appears on Channel 5. It was quite an interesting matchup with 3 challenges for each phone, including multitasking, the camera, and watching a video. Guess who won which category? That's right, Surface Duo 2 won on multitasking. Even though the Galaxy Fold 3 can technically show 3 apps at a time, it's just simpler to do on Duo 2 thanks to those 2 displays, which are also nicely sized. However, when it comes to the camera, actually they both didn't do great, but Samsung edged it out a little bit just because of the extra contrast that Samsung loves to do. And when it comes to watching video, well, you know how this ends. If you try to span a video on Surface Duo or Duo 2, it doesn't look great, but who is doing that anyway? If you run 2 desktop PC monitors, do you ever stretch a video across both? Of course not, and you wouldn't do that in Duo 2 either. But if using all the screen real estate to watch 4K video is your thing, yes, the Fold 3 is a much better option. That said, I think a lot of us who like the Duo 2 prefer having a video on one side and multitasking with comments on the other, or maybe looking at a web page, something that is a little bit more difficult to do with the Fold 3. All right, let's round out the news with some laptop news, as there's quite a lot this week. Dell's refreshing the XPS 15 and XPS 17 laptops with Intel 12th Gen H series processors, new RTX 30 series GPUs, DDR5 RAM, and PCIe 4.0 SSDs, which means these should be quite fast, especially when compared to the previous generation. Now, there are no new design changes with this, so you're just going to get the same chassis as last year's, but that's okay because these are just outstanding laptops as is. They are both available now to order, so make sure you go check that out. And yes, we will be reviewing them, so stay tuned to Windows Central for that. All right, next up is Surface Go 3, specifically the LTE version. Microsoft has announced a new SKU that is now available through the Microsoft Store. It goes for $499. That's with 4G LTE, a Pentium processor, 64 gigs of storage, and just 4 gigs of RAM. I know a lot of people will cringe at that, but I've actually kind of used the Surface Go 3 with that feature set before, and frankly, it's fine depending on what you're doing, especially for light computing on the go, and a lot of people like it. But hey, there is a higher SKU LTE version out there if you want, which goes for $680, but at least this brings down that price to $500, which is quite nice. And finally, wrapping it up, the LG Gram 16 and 17 have also been refreshed with Intel 12th Gen processors, as well as an option now for RTX 2050 graphics, whereas previously you can only get Iris Xe. So that should give quite a nice boost to these exceptionally light laptops. Now, I should point out that LG only announced these for South Korea, so there is no availability yet for North America and the rest of Europe, but hopefully we'll hear about those soon, as these are some really fun laptops to use. All right, so that does it for this recap. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Leave me a comment below on what you thought of the news and if anything stuck out to you as really interesting or controversial. You can follow me on Twitter, Daniel_Rubino, and don't forget to tune into our podcast every Fridays at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time for a live recap of what went on this week, as well as some commentary from myself and Zach Bowden. Other than that, we'll see you next time. Take care, everyone.